everybody to our last info session of one second. I have to fix something. That's our last info session before we hold on, folks. I'm sorry.
Before the application deadline, which is coming up. So we're so excited that we have a big crowd here before March 1st.
So hold on, I'm having a technical difficulty. Oh, here we go. All right. Sorry, guys. All right. All right. Can everyone see that? Excellent. Thanks. All right. So this is our last information session before our applications end on March 1st. Welcome back if you've been here before. If not, I'll introduce myself. My name is Nicole Chan. I'm the faculty lead of the Interaction Design Bachelor's Degree Program at Santa Monica College. And also joining us tonight is our program manager, Jeff Gordon.
Hello, everyone.
So we are really excited to have any questions that you might have. If they pop up during the presentation, you can go ahead and enter them into the chat and we'll get to them at the end of the question and answer section of our presentation. So yeah, make sure you take notes if you want to ask anything at the end or if it comes to you during the presentation. We're also going to have a live, if you want to just ask us a question verbally, we're going to have an option to have you do that at the end if you just raise your Zoom hand, and we can go from there. So a little bit of our program history. We are one of the 15 baccalaureate degrees offered at a community college in all of California, if not the country. The only other programs like ours that offer bachelor's degrees in interaction design are private schools. So for example, Art Center has an interaction design program. It's a private school, as well as California College of the Arts. Our program launched in the fall of 2016. Our 8th cohort of students started this past fall, which leads me to another really important part about our program is once you're admitted and you get accepted, you're going to join a cohort, which is about 25 students. And you will start in fall of 2024. SMC IxD is a full-time program. It's a 2-year commitment. Our program is hybrid. So what that means is that some of our classes are a mixture of online and on-ground. But the on-ground component is definitely important. And so you will need to come into our Center for Media and Design in Santa Monica for classes. We have alumni doing amazing work at different companies in a variety of roles. So for example, Rhea is a product design lead at Meta. Will works at JP Morgan and Chase as a UX research and AR creative. And Orhan is the founder of an AR soccer camera called Real Player. Patrick works for a global design company called IDEO. He's as an interaction designer. Sade works at Activision as a UX UI designer, and Sarah is at Media Monks as a production designer. And then we also have, for example, shifting into games, if you're interested in that. Porfirio works at PlayStation as a product designer. Ami is at Google as a UX designer, and Gabby is at Rivian as a content designer. So we also have a really beautiful building located in Santa Monica called the Center for Media and Design. This is where our program also has our studio space. It's lovingly called the Green Room because it's very green. But this is a dedicated workspace for the students admitted to our program to work. So you can see this is kind of typical whiteboarding exercises we do in class to figure out ideas. So today we'll focus on 2 different paths. I know the bulk of you are probably here because you're applying now. However, We also have students who might be here that are interested in applying in the future. So we'll go over the specifics of what is needed in that department as well. So for example, you could be starting at Santa Monica College's graphic design program, for example, or transferring to SMC at any stage. But you'll still need to apply to the IxD program for admissions to be considered for the program. We can also put you in contact, and we'll share out this information at the end for counselors at Santa Monica College that can answer any questions if you're ready to apply now or are considering in the future. So let's go ahead and jump into what we're going to be covering today. We're going to just briefly touch on what interaction design is. We'll go over the admissions process. We'll talk about the courses for the interaction design program. And we'll talk about the portfolio of work, basically around submitting for admissions and what that looks like. So first of all, what is interaction design? Well, I like to think of it as a space where humans and technology meets. And at this day and time and age, that's pretty much ubiquitous. It's everywhere. It's every experience or service that you encounter tends to have humans and technology involved. So we get to design those types of experiences as interaction designers. But it's really, if you want to think about it in things that you might be familiar with, it's really websites, any type of apps, smart objects, any end-to-end experiences that you have with brands. Interaction designers typically play a role in designing those experiences. So this is a really lovely infographic because I think it shows how interaction design really touches a lot of different areas. So you'll see in the center is interaction design, and it overlaps a lot with user experience, kind of lives within that vein, but it also interacts with things like psychology and human computer interaction, user interface design, motion design, visual design, architecture. So it really is an umbrella that encompasses a lot of different components or different roles that you might be interested in applying for. So let's watch this quick video. It's of our alumni talking about their experiences in interaction design.
Interaction design, or IxD, is many things. It's a melding of different professions, and it's very applicable to a lot of different pursuits that you might have. It lends itself very well to people from different backgrounds, and companies are hiring specifically with that in mind, to try to get different viewpoints and people with different skill sets that are not specifically design oriented.
Favorite part of the IxD program has got to be the mentor program that they had. We all had mentors from like really big companies. Like my mentor was from IDEO. There are mentors there from Hulu, Netflix, Lyft.
If you're someone who likes to problem solve, but doesn't really find enough problems to solve in your creative work as it is right now, interaction design may be a good choice for you.
So some other examples that you might have some experience with that interaction designers work on are, for example, Fitbit. So this is what we call a wearable. It's unobtrusive, and since it's worn day and night, it becomes part of our skin. The interaction with this actual device is minimal. It's there, but you don't know it. So that's the beauty of it. It's kind of magic. It reminds you in subtle ways. Teams of designers, including interaction designers, have created this wearable to provide an experience. So it's useful, it's meaningful, it's highly intuitive. Fitbit makes it easy to track your steps and makes 10,000 steps a day into a game that you can share out with your friends. MailChimp, I'm not sure if anyone's also familiar with this tool, but it's a platform and service that needed to be redesigned and more understandable. And for years, sending out email campaigns was a challenging task for any business, large or small. So rather than wrestling with the management of email lists and trying to code HTML, create templates, send out mass emails, MailChimp made it easy for anyone to manage and create emails, newsletters, for example, campaigns. And with their own highly developed personal brand, MailChimp came along and completely reinvented the experience. They made it fun, filled with their own lighthearted sense of humor. So there's lots of different careers and roles that are available to you as an interaction designer. So you might apply for positions that are information architects or UX designers, mobile designers, web designers, product designers. It could be physical or digital, or even a user interface or a UI designer. And these are all really well-paid careers. So the cost of our degree is in-state tuition. 4 years at SMC is around a little over $10,000. So if you're coming in from a different school, this is about half if you're going to spend the last 2 years with us getting a bachelor's degree. And so for comparison, the interaction design degree at Art Center is around 180 grand for 4 years. So the cost is completely different from the private schools. Our graduates are getting well-paying jobs. The median design salary for an interaction designer in Los Angeles, California, according to the Coral Flat 2023 salary guide, was around $80,000 a year. That can be considerably more depending on your experience and your portfolio of work, or it can be less. So this is just to give you an idea of what you might be making coming out of school. So next, let's talk about the Interaction Design Bachelor's of Science degree at SMC. So the first 2 years, if you're coming in as a freshman and you're full-time at SMC, the Design Associate of Science with a UX or web concentration is comprised of 28 units of core classes, 12 units of courses with a concentration, and 20 units of general education. So after you finish these 60 units, that's when you're eligible to apply to the bachelor's degree program. So these are the core courses of the associate's degree and certificates at SMC. The design classes, you'll see here, these core classes are the foundation of design, typography, research, user experience, design, and of course we have industry projects built in as well, so you get that real world experience. There's a design portfolio class also at the end of this curriculum that'll help you prepare your portfolio application for the SMC IxD program. We also have a UX certificate of achievement that does include some of the core design classes, and also a web certificate of achievement that focuses more on front end and back end design work. And then once you're admitted, Blaine, I see you, but we're not going to answer you until the end. But keep note of your question, please. I'd love to hear it. Interaction design bachelor's degree is made up of 35 units of core courses and 28, so it should be a 28 units of other required courses. So this rounds out the number of credits that you'll need to graduate. All descriptions of our program courses can be found on the IxD website, which is ixd.smc.edu. These courses are offered in a sequence. So like I mentioned earlier, the program is full-time. So you'll start in fall as a junior, and you'll go through the sequence of classes with your cohort of students until you graduate in the spring of your senior year. You can check out the IxD program website for the sequence and the classes and the course descriptions. But what I really want to highlight about our program that I think makes us really unique and special is that we really want to embed into these core classes as much as possible, like the studios 1, 2, and 3, the senior studio, the product design, the design for community change, these relationships with companies, and these what we call real world design challenges. So these are sponsored projects from companies and nonprofits that we embed into our classes. And so the beautiful thing about this is it gives students the opportunity to interact and receive critique and feedback from working designers, as well as build a strong portfolio of work that is based on real challenges and briefs, which is really a great thing to have when you're applying for work, to be able to speak to companies that you've worked with and projects that are based on real problems that needed to be solved. So you'll see here some of the highlights are that you might recognize are like Hulu or Activision or Red Bull, American Heart Association, SAP, JPL. So yeah, these have been some really inspiring projects and work that students have gotten out of these partnerships. So this is a reel, kind of a sizzle reel of work that our seniors that graduated last spring put together for you to kind of get a brief glimpse into the work that they produce. And I'll share this with you. One of our students actually put that together for us, which is really, really fun. So I encourage you to take a look at current student and alumni projects. If you go to the student section of our website, you'll be able to click through and see a sampling of their work and the projects that I just showed a little bit more in depth. This is an example of one of our alumni and kind of the high level project that she worked on called with a place in Vegas called Meow Wolf. But this is just an example of how you'll be able to kind of sort through and look at individual students and alumni's projects. So I also want to encourage you to take a look at our FAQ section on our website. This might also help you with some of the additional questions that you might have, but also we'll have a Q&A section at the end where I'm happy to answer or direct you to the places where you might be able to find answers.
All right, thank you very much, Nicole. And just as a note, we'll be posting this information session, the information session presentation on YouTube shortly after this, because I know a few people have messaged me asking me if there's a place where they can access these slides. All right, so today we're going to be talking about program emissions. And let's talk about the program emission cycle. This year's cohort, which is fall 2024, the application opened back in December 1st of 2023, and the deadline to apply is the end of the day, March 1st, 2024. So by 11:59 p.m. Pacific time, which I don't recommend doing, but certainly you have until that moment to do so. So let's talk about some of the requirements for success. The requirements for success include our minimum qualifications, which is completions of at least 60 semester units of Cal State University transferable courses, completed English 1, English 2, and 1 math class from the Cal State General Education pattern. Now, if you're unsure or you're coming from a different college, I know there's some students that are applying with second bachelor degrees or coming from community colleges inside of California and out of state. If you're unsure what English 1 is it equivalent to English 101 at Pasadena City College? You can talk to any general counselor, and a general counselor would be able to help you with English 1, 2, and the 60 units in the math class. Right now, we do have IxD counselors. However, they are pretty much all booked up. So at this point, we're just advising our students to make sure to speak with a general counselor in the general counseling office, and they can help you look at the equivalencies for English and math and making sure you hit those Cal State transferable courses. And then the last part of it is to make sure you have a minimum of a 2.0 overall GPA or better at the time of application. So we're also looking for students in junior standing, which is completion of 60 Cal State transferable units by the end of spring 2024. So you can be in progress this spring if you're finishing off those units. And we welcome individuals who've earned a previous bachelor's degree. So if you have a second bachelor's degree, you're trying to apply for second bachelor's degrees, we welcome you. And we also welcome individuals who are graduates of a graphic design program or related and who possess work experience in design. You're eligible to apply to the IXD program. One of the most common questions we get is, do I have to have an associate degree to apply to this program? And the answer is no. We do highly recommend that you take the courses, but it's not required to do so. All right, so let's talk about I think we're on different slides here. I'm on the new SMC student slide. Nicole?
Oh, you don't see IXD admissions supplemental materials?
No, I have the junior standing requirements for success, and then I go to the new SMC students. I mean, let me just maximize this and I can talk about it. Bear with me. All right, so let's talk about the IXD admissions supplemental materials. You can just roll with me.
Oh, sure. So these materials are submitted using a website called Slide Room. So what you're going to submit is what we call the baccalaureate degree supplemental form. You're going to need to upload unofficial transcripts from all institutions attended. There's 2 essays. Portfolio of 3 to 5 projects is what we're looking for.
And just if I can add one more thing, Nicole, there was a question early on in a previous info session about your transcripts from SMC. If you're a current student at SMC and you have transcripts from here, you do not need to upload your transcript separately. It's just if you have transcripts from other institutions.
Correct.
Yeah.
So if you haven't already, go to smcixd.slideroom.com and you can go ahead and sign up. You can save and come back later. So you don't have to submit all in one fell swoop. Once you do submit though, however, you cannot edit your materials. So let's talk a little bit more about the portfolio requirements. So we do not accept URLs or any web-based resources in your submission for the reasons of fairness. Because it's possible to change the content of those URLs even after the submission deadline. So that's why we request 3 to 5 projects, and we want them submitted as PDF files. So they can be individual files, each no more than 10 megabytes a piece. Please compress your files to meet the size requirement. If you get stuck figuring out how to compress a file, you can do an easy search compressing Acrobat PDFs, and it's pretty simple and clear cut. We really want to see your design process, and we'll dig more into that, but mock-ups, design comps, prototypes. We want a written project description for each project submitted. It gives us context and we understand a little bit more what we're looking at and why you chose the design decisions that you made. So let's go ahead and we'll watch this portfolio requirement video. This is also on our website if you want to go and spend some more time with it, but let's go ahead and watch this really quickly.
Your portfolio should consist of 3 to 5 projects reflecting your design work. You can choose to include professional work, class assignments, or passion projects. There's a wide range of projects that can be included in your portfolio. It could be graphic design, UX, UI design work, motion graphics, game design, coding and engineering, architecture, and more. We encourage you to show your creative process and your problem-solving skills in whatever context and media you choose to express them.
1. Portfolio contents. You are expected to demonstrate your design process visually and in writing for each project you submit. You should include a statement about your specific role in the design process if you're showing a group project. Highlight the challenges in each project and the skills you used to step up to those challenges. Be sure to include the visual documentation of the process. For example, early sketches, photos of ideation sessions, graphs, wireframes, high-fidelity mockups. Any visual artifact you have produced along the way will help you tell the whole story of your project. We want to see not just what you've made, but also how you thought about your work and what you learned along the way. 2. Technical requirements for submission. Submit each project as a PDF file at the maximum size of 10 megabytes per file. You may need to flatten and compress your files to meet the size requirements. We will not accept URLs or other web-based resources in your submission for the reason of fairness, because it is possible to change the content at those URLs even after the submission deadline. Remember, you can't go back and edit your materials once you submit, so make sure you're fully ready to take this step. Submit your best work. We're here to help, and we're looking forward to reviewing your application. So that video is available if you want to watch it again slower at your own pace on our website. So applicants have a lot of questions, understandably, around portfolio submission and what we mean by writing a project description and showing your project's process. So that how to apply page on our website also includes a helpful section that focuses on case studies for inspiration. So if you're looking at wanting to see and do some benchmarking, go ahead and take a look at the samples that we have on the how to apply page. So let's review one project together of a past applicant that was accepted, submitted, and specifically discuss what was strong about the way they chose to showcase their work in a case study format. So for example, this is kind of the first page of their case study. You'll see that the title of their project is very clear, in terms of hierarchy, the Intersect GMD branding proposal, and they give a description. So the Intersect GMD is a faculty-guided, student-run creative agency at College of the Canyons. The goal of our program is to transition our team members from education to career. So you'll see underneath that, we understand the timeline. It was a really quick project, about 9 weeks. This person's role as branding and identity logo designer, and the deliverables are a brand proposal and some mock-ups. So the next thing that they shared in this case study is they showed the brand matrix that they put together. They wrote a little description talking about the brand matrix. So that's also really helpful. Again, the context is helpful. I could look at this, the brand metrics without the writing, but I wouldn't have as an in-depth understanding about the intentions around why they chose these images unless it was written about. And then they go into showing sketches for logo ideation. And again, they talk about in terms of process, they built upon having a brand matrix. And after they created this matrix, they moved on to sketching logo designs. And then they talk about having the 3 ideas. So we get to see the other concepts other than the idea that was chosen. So while it's nice to see the beautiful outcome of any project, what we find most is interesting as the admissions committee is to see your thinking. So what ideas did you not use compared to the ideas you did, for example? And I think this is a nice sampling of that, the compare and contrast of the Rubik's Cube and how that informed the logo, or the spider web and how that informed the logo, and then also the other concepts. And then moving on to the next drafts. After they created the sketches, they built upon those sketches and they started moving into a higher fidelity using Illustrator, for example. And then they also talk about how they considered the negative space in the logo and considered that when they were making this mark. And then building upon that, they chose the cube to move forward with. They talk about why they chose that cube. They talk about the secondary mark that they also designed so that this logo mark has flexibility depending on how it's used. And then they also talk about the cube design as a nod to the Rubik's Cube, which represents problem solving, intelligence, and creativity. So there's some real intention and depth included in this final mark that they made. And then they had a little fun. They went on and played with their color palette, which is again is building on, if anyone's ever designed logos before, you want to start with the black logo, and then you build upon that and start adding in color. So they shared the different colors from the Pantone swatches that they created all the way to the CMYK and RGB colors. They show the logo reversed out, they show it on white, and then they show it in the color palette that they chose. And then from there, they started making some visual illustrations, some patterns, some illustrations that can work with this branding that they did, and a little bit more complexity, showing how the mark and those patterns might be put on a stationary system, all the way from, letterhead to pencils to business cards. And then again, taking that mark and playing with the idea of how it might look on a hat or a button or, the opening home screen of an app. So this is just some additional kind of fun play and speculative ideas about how this mark and this identity that they created might play out on other products. So again, this case study, as well as others that have different types of outcomes from, UX to game design, and I think there's some other ones on there. I think there's maybe about 6 that we posted for people to look at. This is under the resource section on the How to Apply page. So I hope you check it out. All right, so our suggestions are, we're getting down to it. We've got about 2 weeks left if you're applying to, or I guess a little less than that, or applying to this application cycle. Go ahead and refine your projects, submit your best work, revise and rewrite those essays that we have the questions posted up in Slideroom if you haven't looked at them yet already, and also just plan your time. If you're joining us and you're interested in the program, it's given you a nice little peek into what is coming. I also want to suggest we have a really lovely annual report that we put together from last year. It can give you another in-depth look into the different things that we get into in our program, other than classes. We really are a community of designers, and we have a lot of other activities and events that we participate in or hold for our students. So that's also on our website if you want to give a glimpse into that. So yeah, if we have any other questions,
Nicole, if I can just add a couple quick things that I see as common things that come up with the application. If you're not currently a Santa Monica College student, please make sure to apply to be a Santa Monica College student and get that SMC student ID number. Once you apply and get your student ID number, you can then activate your Coursera Connect account. That's like the enrollment system that SMC offers online. And you can declare your goal is IxD interaction design. If you're currently an SMC student and you've already activated your Coursera Connect account, just make sure that in your student profile, you list interaction design as your goal. This just helps in terms of if you're applying for financial aid down the road. But in terms of the actual application, when you go to the supplemental application slide room, there will be a spot on there asking for your SMC student ID number. So just please to make sure to do that. And as Nicole mentioned, just to plan your time wisely. I can tell you the number of times I see students submitting in the last like 15 minutes before the application closes. And I know we're all guilty of procrastinating, but we want to make sure you put your best, best efforts out there. And, we've been here along the way to help you do that.
Yeah, so here's 2 links that you can check out for more information, our website and our Instagram for a little peek into other things that we're doing. Yeah, so let's go ahead and jump into the Q&A portion of our info session. If you want to put anything in the chat, you can do that, or you also can go ahead and raise your hand and we'll hear from you as well. So I don't know, Blaine, if we want to start with Blaine.
And I'm going to ask you to unmute Blaine. I'm going to push this on there so you can speak. You should be able to unmute.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, hi Blaine, how's it going?
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Um, so I'm looking at moving into a UX career. I have got a 4-year bachelor degree from the University of Cape Town in South Africa. I'm wondering, the Maths 1, Maths 2 is cleared up now with state universities. But on the application process, how would I go about applying with an existing bachelor's degree, my transcripts and my projects?
Um, so do you have transcripts from your school that you've attended?
Yes.
You already have a bachelor's degree. I think we're just gonna need the transcript that lets us know that you've graduated. So you would just upload that to Slide Room where you would submit your application, and then everything else is still um, pretty typical to everyone else that's applying that might be in state. So you'd want the 3 to 5 projects, a portfolio work, the essay questions, and just filling out that supplemental information about you. But I think the transcript should do it, especially if you already have a batch. You have a college degree, and that's just mostly making
Right.
sure you have that. But we do have a lot of people that already have degrees. They're coming back and getting a second, and they just share the transcript that shows they've completed that
Okay.
degree. Yeah, does that help?
Yeah, the one clarification point that I would ask then is, under when it asks, do you have English 1 or 2 or equivalent and Maths 1? The degree the 4-year degree that I have didn't include mathematics courses. So would that just be a no? And then, but English, I've got equivalent courses, so give that a yes.
I think with the 4-year degree, and we would have to obviously double check this with our counselors. I don't know, Jeff, if you have an insight into that, but I believe that the English one, the math, that's all for people that are coming in at a junior standing.
Right. If you
Yeah,
already have a previous bachelor's
yeah.
degree, it it's just, it's generally seen as that you've already completed all your requirements, like those requirements, like the math requirement. But again, when you apply, our wonderful team of counselors, they go through and they just do an eligibility check for you.
Brilliant. Thank you.
No
Yeah,
problem.
you're welcome.
There's a question in the chat, and I see you as well. I see more people raising their hands. This question from the chat is about the portfolio, asking if all the submissions need to be case studies.
All the submissions, I recommend that they are case studies because we want to see the process of